This coming Thursday is Earth Day. The observance was founded by Senator Gaylord Nelson of Wisconsin in 1970 as a day to make people aware of environmental issues. As I remember, it didn't get much attention back then. Most of the world regarded Earth Day as something for long-haired, radical tree huggers to worry about, and the rest of them ignored it. Fortunately, times are changing. As we suffer through oil and water shortages, watch our grasslands become shopping centers, and see entire species become extinct, we are beginning to understand that maybe Senator Nelson knew what he was talking about. If we had interpreted our Torah differently 5,000 years ago, we wouldn't have needed an Earth Day to wake us up to our responsibilities. The 26th verse of the first chapter of Genesis says, "And God said, 'Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth.'" The generally accepted definition of dominion is to have power over something, to have the authority to rule it. However, where the earth and its creatures are concerned, I don't think God just gave us power and authority over it. I think he also gave us a responsibility for it. From the beginning of time, man's attitude towards the earth has been that it was something to be tamed, something to be taken and used for his benefit. The resources were viewed as endless, and responsibility just wasn't part of the picture. We now spend billions of dollars every year making the water we polluted fit to drink again. We spend billions more treating the diseases we've caused by breathing the air that we polluted. Our rainforests cover only 2% of the Earth's surface, yet more than half of all the Earth's plant and animal species live in that 2%. A fourth of all of our modern medicine originated from plant material found in the rainforests. That sounds like something we should be taking good care of, doesn't it? Well, we aren't. We're destroying the rainforest for wood, grazing, road building, and development at such a fast rate that it's impossible for the forests to sustain themselves. If we don't change our habits very quickly, our rainforests will soon be gone, along with all the animals and the vegetation in them. Do you think that's what God meant by dominion? Have you noticed how disposable buildings are becoming? When a commercial building is vacated and sold, it's very rare to see the buyer adapting the existing building to his use. He bulldozes it, hauls all the building materials to a landfill, and then builds a new one, usually very similar to the one that was there before. When it comes to the earth, oil is one of my favorite rants. We build more cars to fill with gasoline every year like the stuff is going to last forever. We've finally started to think that breathing all that exhaust might not be a good idea. Still, we squelch most of the research to find alternative fuels and continue pumping every drop of oil we can find out of the ground. Is that dominion over the earth? Think about how much useless paper floods your world. How much of the contents of your mailbox goes directly into the garbage can? My favorite example of paper waste is the 2-page HIPAA information that doctors make everybody sign. Has anyone ever bothered to read that? And do you know that you have to sign a new one of those every year for the same doctor you signed it for the year before? How many trees die for that? Do you think God gave us trees so we could print grocery store ads and HIPAA agreements? Then there's our garbage. I was on a train trip Wednesday with some employees of Norfolk Southern Railroad, and I learned that a train with over 100 cars of railroad goes from New York City to a landfill in Ohio every single day because New York produces so much garbage they don't have any place to dump it all. The area where I feel we have done the most damage by believing that dominion over the earth is power and control rather than responsibility is how we treat the world's animals. What a difference there is in our behavior when we see animals as a part of God's creation that we were commanded to care for rather than overpower and use. Some animals, like the dinosaurs, became extinct through the evolutionary process. But most of the ones that we have lost have been lost as a result of us humans misusing or mismanaging them. Animals are a part of the food chain that we are at the top of, so it would be unrealistic to say that we shouldn't use them for food. But do you think God gave us animals so we could shoot them and hang their heads on our walls until there weren't any of them left? One of the things I treasure about Judaism is the value that we put on animal life. We have set rituals for how an animal is to be killed before we can use it for food. Some people believe the rituals have their roots in health issues. Others, and I prefer this theory, believe that we have the ritualistic killing of animals to ensure that they will be killed in the most humane way possible. I think God wants us to be mindful that we are taking a life He created when we kill an animal, and therefore not do it thoughtlessly. One of the most basic of our kosher dietary laws is the separation of meat and milk. This arose from God telling us not to boil a kid in his mother's milk. Again, a call for compassion and mindfulness of the lives that we are taking and using. Even in our Talmud, there are instructions on the humane care of animals. We are told it is forbidden to taste anything prior to feeding one's animal. The Talmud also notes, whoever is compassionate towards God's creatures is shown compassion by heaven, and whoever is not compassionate towards God's creatures is not shown compassion by heaven. I am on the board of our local no-kill animal shelter and humane society, and I have been upset to the point of tears more times than I can count at the cruelty that some people have inflicted on an animal. I can't believe that God would condone that as part of our dominion over all the earth. When Earth Day comes on Thursday, please pause for a few minutes and look at your lifestyle. If there are changes you can make that will help protect our world, please make them, no matter how small they may be. Let's show others by our example that dominion over the earth means that we owe something to the world and not the other way around.